Here we go.
For lovers of love, Rebel's big announcement was the stuff of fairy tales.
I thought I was searching for a Disney prince, but maybe what I really needed all this time was a Disney princess. Hashtag love is love.
The Aussie superstar simultaneously coming out and introducing the world to her fashion designer girlfriend, Ramona Agruma. But every fairy tale needs a villain.
I'm being shot! I'm being shot!
And it turns out Rebel's hand may have been forced by a Sydney Morning Herald gossip columnist.
It was with an abundance of caution and respect that this media outlet emailed Rebel Wilson's representatives on Thursday morning, giving her 2 days to comment on a new relationship. Big mistake. Wilson opted to gazump the story. Her choice to ignore our discreet, genuine and honest queries was, in our view, underwhelming.
I cannot fathom how somebody thought that they could write an article saying that they were underwhelmed by the fact that somebody wanted to tell their own story on their own terms, which it wasn't. Anyway, we found out it wasn't even on her own terms.
The publication has been savaged on Twitter.
It's for you. It should never be up to somebody else to pressure them into releasing any intimate details of their private life unless they've decided to do it.
Rebel responding overnight, tweeting,
"It was a very hard situation, but trying to handle it with grace."
The Sydney Morning Herald's editor initially doubled down, insisting they didn't out anyone, that the questions and deadline was standard practice and that he'd made no decision on whether or what to publish.
I don't buy it. That was, of course, going to be a byproduct of breaking a story about Rebel dating a woman. That is outing her.
Later, both the editor and the columnist at the centre of the controversy backtracked. Andrew Hornery this afternoon admitting he'd made mistakes and will learn from them, saying he genuinely regrets that Rebel found this hard, and as a gay man, he's well aware of how deeply discrimination hurts.
I hope the lesson is that moving forward, people's sexuality shouldn't be breaking news. It's doing nothing to break down the stigmas associated with being a queer person in 2022. So less of that and more of allowing people to tell their stories if, when and how they're ready to do so.
We all consume gossip. So the fact that she's an international star, actress, comedian, does that change this?
Well, I think it speaks to the broader kind of question about what stories are for sale and what do celebrities owe us in terms of their own private stories. There's kind of this worrying idea, and I do think it is getting less and less, particularly after this story, where people say, oh, well, you're famous. You've got to tell us everything. You asked for it. And I think that's becoming less and less true. And I like that the journalist and the publication have had to look at that and think, oh, what's my part in this?
Well, forced into that. I mean, they cop such a
forced into it by public opinion for the people that they're writing for. So I think that's a really powerful exchange as well.
I don't think there's much point in adding to the outrage. I think a lot of noise has already been made about it. The journalist has apologised, which is right. I think it was the right decision. I acknowledge what you're saying about celebrities, but I do think it is, for people coming to terms with their sexuality, that may be something that they wake up and decide one day or realise one day. It may be something that's a very long journey, and I don't think it's for anyone else other than the individual to determine the point at which they talk about that.
Absolutely.
I've been on the end of this sort of thing with a couple of journalists before, and it's actually scary and intimidating and frankly pretty terrifying when a journalist sort of starts saying to you that they know this about you and they want to put it in print. I take at their word what this journalist said about learning from it. And maybe in 2022, this is something that we can all learn from, particularly when it comes to people thinking about, learning about and understanding their own identity, that it's a story for them to tell at a time.
When they want to.
In a circumstance of their choosing. And to Rebel, good on you. Really happy.